In many games, we play superpowered warriors, chosen heroes, mystical beings, even gods. But in this game, you aren't saving the world, you aren't a gun-toting space marine, you're a 70-year-old woman dealing with dementia. This is Before I Forget. This indie title comes to us from Threefold Games, a small studio out of Bristol. After meeting at a game jam in 2016, the studio and debut project were born. The game jam's theme had been borders, and so Claire Morley and Shella Ramanan began playing with the idea of a protagonist suffering with dementia. After winning the Audience Choice Award, they knew they had something special. This narrative adventure is centered around Sunita, a 70-year-old woman. As you explore her home and interact with seemingly common items, they trigger memories, uncovering the narrative. Audio and text prompts are accompanied by splashes of color, filling her world for just a moment as memories come flooding back. I spoke to the team at Threefold and asked about the art style and use of color, and they had this to say. We wanted every aspect of the game to act as a representation of Sunita's perspective on the world, including the game's visuals. Sunita's memories regarding the objects in her house are not constant and not as vivid as they would have been several years before the game is set. We felt that if the house was completely full of her belongings, there would be a disconnect between the player and the character. We also felt that we needed a really strong visual metaphor for a partially forgotten memory returning, so that the player really felt the impact of it. Impactful is definitely a word that I would use to describe my time playing a slice of the experience. In my short time with the game, I was instantly touched by the memories that would return to Sunita as I perused her home. For a few sweet moments when Sunita recalls details about her loved ones, even her own accomplishments, the world seems serene, which made the sudden tone shift that much more disconcerting. At first, the game's central questions seem much larger: who am I and where am I? And very quickly it becomes much more immediate and real: where's the bathroom? It's also interesting how, as the player, I found both questions equally troubling. Most non-sufferers can imagine the pain of forgetting yourself and those around you, but many don't consider how everyday things are made more difficult by dementia. While the main character is entirely fictional, her story is one that is relatable to all too many. The devs at Threefold Games have spoken with medical professionals who specialize in that area. This delicate balance of relatability, realism, and art style help to deliver a great experience. Before I Forget is a game that transcends the word. I asked the devs about their opinion on the dismissal of games as a medium, their ability to convey complex narratives and ideas, and the importance of their story. They said, "I don't think that calling something a game means it's somehow frivolous. There are so many meaningful and impactful stories being told in games. Dementia is something that affects so many people, unfortunately, even if they don't suffer from it directly. They are likely to know someone or have lost someone who did. It's sad, becoming quite a universal story, which is why Before I Forget is a narrative we wanted to tell. Games are seen as pure escapism and vehicles for power fantasies, which is fine and can be fun, but there are so many games exploring smaller, more poignant experiences. Aging isn't something we tackle in games because our heroes tend to be prime physical specimens with extra lives and restart buttons. With Before I Forget, we're exploring a quieter side of life that we hope lots of people can relate to, showing that games can be thoughtful and sensitive to different experiences. Although my time with the game was short and sweet, the entire experience will remain bite-sized at about an hour. It will be released later this year, and it's definitely an experience that I recommend to others. While it's easy to devote all of our time to AAA power fantasies, it's also important to indulge smaller, handcrafted narratives. They can take us on important journeys and serve as a reminder that games are so much more than that.